Kia koutou, I'm Marten Rabarts, Director of the New Zealand International Film Festival, Whānau, Mārama. Here with you, we'll be speaking about his film, No Hard Feelings, with Faraz. Are you there? Let's get you on camera. Thank you, lovely to see you. Joining us from morning in Berlin, you have this lovely light coming in behind you. Thanks very much for getting up early so we could speak with you. I'm delighted to have your film with us. It won the Teddy Award this year in the Berlinale, which is the world's top prize for an LGBTQ film. I've been on the jury myself. I was jury chair once. But it also tells a really, I think, essential story about what the state of migration is, and it's, which is a worldwide phenomenon. We are all in some state of migration, I suppose, even those of us who don't leave home necessarily. So thank you for sharing your beautiful film with us and our audiences here. It feels like a personal story. It feels like something that comes from within your own experience. Just tell us, what was the birth of the idea? Because even if you have an experience as a filmmaker, you don't necessarily wake up one morning and go, oh, I'll tell that story. There are different aspects of your reality that you might dig into for a story. But why this story and this particular story?
I think, first of all, it's quite important that during that time when I came up with the idea for No Hard Feelings, I was studying cultural studies in a really small town. So I was not specifically so much working as a filmmaker, just for the sake of making films, but more as some sort of I had this very analytical approach on understanding culture. And during that time, I was myself sentenced to serve community hours in a refugee shelter, 2015 summer. It was just about that time when a lot of new people were coming to Germany, joining our societies. And I was in this very somehow still naive mindset of just making use of my privileges as someone being born here in Germany, but in a heteronormative white gaze, also somehow suddenly being part of that community of refugees when I was working there really struck me. And I think that was a point that moment was just so, in a way, perspective changing for me, that I thought it would be so interesting to create some sort of dialogue between these different generations, same age, living in Germany at the same time. And then I started to think about, okay, how would it be possible to do a feature film, though, because we really didn't know how to produce it, how to finance it, blah blah blah. And I think it was a very, very personal approach at first, and then we obviously needed to fictionalize aspects of it to make it workable in a way.
Wow. I mean, there's so many things in what you just said, that you just shared. You're not you're not a trained filmmaker. It's not like you're at film school and came up with this. You discovered something through the intense migration that happened in 2015, which I really liked. Something you said in there that was basically you discovered your otherness through being seen in the same gaze as a migrant who may come from your parents' country or origin, I guess, right, from Iran. And yet you'd not felt other, you'd just felt German up until then. That's fascinating.
I think obviously, even till that point, I already gathered some experiences where people othered me here in Germany. But I think in that very moment, I somehow understood how many potentials my life has. And I think there was another past living of myself suddenly speaking to me.
Wow.
In my home, in the town where I lived, and that was just like really weird.
Which is a line of dialogue you give the female character in your film. I think I recall correctly. She speaks about these different lives that we might have lived, and that comes directly from your own personal reflection.
Yeah, true. I think it's just such a crucial point of of the migrational experience to be so flexible in futures and pasts that your body could have hold, or your identity, and that's just like something that really, I think, challenged us throughout the whole process of creation.
That was it was a really moving reflection. Also for me, I've lived sort of by choice in exile for a long time, so it struck a note with me as well. Something about your work as a filmmaker, you approach filmmaking from a sort of sociological point of view, as like a tool. Tell us a little bit about that journey, because the film I find is really an accomplished piece of cinema. It's, you know, all the pieces are in the right place. Tell us about how you rose to the challenge, what you discovered along the way, how you taught yourself to make a film, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I was always very much inspired by pop culture and a lot of pieces that come from maybe more like a short film, Vimeo, music video kind of area. But then obviously there was also like a huge interest in films that have many films that are not necessarily from Germany, but from other countries that, I just find very inspiring. But I think, yes, definitely, that there was also even just like a huge scare from us. It was super frightening for us to think of that film and then maybe even have created some sort of like academic research piece and not so much like a sensual feeling or something. But I think the DIY mentality was not just me, but maybe I think even 80% of the whole crew who worked on set for the first time in their life.
Wow.
And that, I think that really shaped the entire experience, because obviously the DP was professional, the production designer was professional, the editor, and like I think 2-3 others in like key positions, but the entire rest of the team was debutants too. And I think obviously this film is also so much about empowering and about like reclaiming the gaze and really like owning it. And I think that was also a political approach of saying, okay, we don't have a lot of resources, but this project is an option to somehow change also politics behind the camera.
Right.
So yeah, it was super important for us to have as many queer Iranis and also Farsi-speaking people in the crew. My parents also worked a lot on set.
I saw that your parents appear routinely through the credits.
It is a crucial part, because the warmth and also they were somehow the parents of the entire crew also. And I think that just changes something. And then and I think also what you say about the like filmmaking aspect, I think that's really important to first have for us it was really important to first have this like political sentiment why we want to do this film, and then start making a film, rather than thinking of some like idea and then say, okay, that could be interesting.
Yeah, you can see how it organically grew from what you've just described. What I didn't understand was that it was really this collective undertaking, or you're beginning to describe something I would call a collective undertaking, which is a tendency, I think, in cinema more and more. The Rotterdam Film Festival this year had a whole section on collective films that are made by groups of people. And I think it's also possibly generational. I think filmmakers of your generation are drawn to this way of working, perhaps. It certainly turned the idea of, you know, a white man with a megaphone telling everyone what to do kind of directing, that's been thrown out completely by an emerging generation of which I think you're clearly part. Would you make a film like this in that same way again? With the collective, with the collaboration that way?
100%. Actually, like we like the main creative team. It was Paulina Lorenz, Raquel Molt, and me, and us three. We are a collective called Jünglinge, and we, from this, like, because we worked on music videos, I think 3, 4, 5 years before that already, before we started to work on that film. And then, and we all met at the university, the cultural studies course. And I think from now on, because obviously it was super nice to be like, to get so much attention with the film. And now we actually work 9 to 5 together in our office. And we have a lot of like serial and feature projects up our pipe. And I think it's super important to try to establish these collective working environments, because obviously the industry and also the market is not so ready for that, because there's only budget for one director or for one writer or however. And I think that are difficulties we are changing right now to incorporate our structures into the greater system.
Absolutely. No, I can see where you'll bump up against the way the infrastructure is put together. That, you know, yes, you can't have 3 directors. We'll only pay one. I think it's really extraordinary that you work forward in this way, because you get such a complexity of voices coming through the frame as well. Because that's your intention, and that intention is definitely paying off, certainly in this film.
And what you also said about like this idea, or this very romanticized idea of a like majestic director who knows everything and who's in power or full control, that was something that we really wanted to work against too, because I had so many questions, so many insecurities, and they were there to catch me, and also other way around. And I think, we just really want to work on a new understanding of what directing is also, because you would never, I mean, for the obvious reasons, actually.
I think that really is more and more clear now that I hear this. I'm reflecting. I'm playing the film again in my head as we speak. Also, your cast. I mean, they were. Tell us about how you found these wonderful cast, each so unique and specific, and yet so well woven together as this trio. That is a 3-way love story in a way.
I like that. I mean, that was also something that we hoped that the audience would also like take into their hands and not just make that into a gay storyline. Raquel, who I just mentioned from my collective, she did the casting, but also the research and the production. And we casted, I think, for almost 3 years, and started already when we had the expose ready. So it was only a 4 pages idea that we approached with actors, but also amateurs. And the first meetings were always like somehow two-faced. On the one side, there was a casting meeting, maybe even like a rehearsal, but on the other hand, it was always also a research meeting. So we started the encounters with maybe 1.5 hours discussion about how people would have like experienced growing up as a migrant in Germany, or as a first-generation migrant just coming to Germany. So I think that is a very specific part to how we cast it. But then also I think we see our actors not just as actors, but also as dramaturgs, and also thinkers who challenge what we have written. And that worked really well with these 3 people, because they are so like up to date and really understand what we wanted to do with this. And though they are not like, because we really wanted to cast first-generation actors for Bana and Amon, the 2 characters, the 2 siblings who came from Iran, but didn't do it. They are both second generation. And I mean, that was something that we really struggled with. But still, I think this film so much aims at a second-generation audience, and maybe even more at a white audience living in Germany, because I think those are the ones who should definitely see this film. Obviously, it's empowering for us. But I think it was just like having this my think tank atmosphere where we all are in this together really shaped how the actors could also like embody these characters, maybe in a more safe environment.
Was there, in that exploration with your entire creative collaborative, including your cast, was there ever any question about, say, how the film would end, for example? Or was that predetermined and you stuck to that? Were there any major changes that you took from your collaborators or that they influenced?
Definitely. I mean, one big change actually, I mean, for me at that time, it was a big change. I'm not sure how you perceive it when you watch the film, is the ratio, how much Bana comes into play in the last 30 minutes maybe of the film, because I think the last beats were only always written on Amon and Parvis, and it was actually the actor of Parvis, Benjamin, who approached me just before we took a ride to that farmhouse or villa where they, and he said, you know what, I think the scene at the fireplace, and also maybe even the scenes where we spent the night together for the first time, because we were about to shoot that out the days after, I think I should do them with Banafshe alone, because I want their relationship to be a bit more, how you say, have more agency, and not just be like the relationship between the girl who's the sister of the guy I date.
Right.
And that helped me a lot. I think that really is something so important for the film, and at the end also.
Yeah, no, it is. It does. Well, in a way, it does lead you towards a change in the ending. In fact, because without that depth of knowledge of her and the dilemma that she faces, or the challenges that they face together, the final ending, as your film ends, wouldn't have the same resonance for the audience. So, what a great gift to be given by one of your cast.
And we sometimes thought of Banafshe as the hidden protagonist of our film. I mean, she's not even hidden, but I think, it's just so because Parvis has so little reason to be the protagonist in a way, and but I think it was really well woven together with their helps.
One thing, I guess, there's a layer of activism in this work. What are the things you would most want to say to, a white European audience without a migrant background? I mean, I think it's kind of clear from the film, but if you could just paint a banner, what would it be?
Yeah, many things. I think step back, listen, be specific. Don't think of yourself as the norm. I think some of these things.
Yeah, I think those that all listen, don't think of yourself as the norm, are some of the most useful tools we can take sort of forward anywhere in the world, here in New Zealand as well as in Germany and everywhere in the world, because we're all needing to engage with change and difference constantly. I just wanted to sort of close with that idea that the relevance of your film, not just as a queer film, which it's an important contribution to that ongoing discourse, but also as an understanding or a window on otherness and how people, even within communities, have an otherness between them. And I think that's a really wonderful, unique thing that your film shows us, that someone from the same supposed communities can have utterly different lives, and then you clash them together or juxtapose them in your film so beautifully. We learn a lot from them as they learn a lot from each other.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Really looking forward to your next work that you and your close colleagues and friends make together. So keep us in touch, and thank you for sharing this film with us this year.
100%, and thank you so much for showing our film to your audience.
Thank you, Faraz.
Bye.
Bye.